electronic waste. I've been working on this convention for 24 years now, and half of that time was about electronic waste, and it still dominates the issue. So what is the concern? The concern is that in this next meeting, we are going to create a guideline, and the guideline is supposed to help us determine when electronics are products and non-waste, and when they are waste. And of course, that needed to be determined. When I went to Lagos, Nigeria, and met Professor Osabanjo in 2005, I was seeing all this material coming in, and coming in from places like Europe where they had implemented the ban amendment already. And this material was flowing in and being dumped and burned in horrific situations, still going on, unfortunately. And what was happening was people were claiming that it was non-waste. This looks like equipment. This doesn't look like waste. It's not in a barrel. So they said, no, it's not a waste. The exporters did. And of course, we brought this issue back to Europe, and Europe diligently worked on that issue of how to distinguish waste from non-waste. Very important piece of work. And the overarching consensus was, and is, that if something is non-functional or untested, so you don't know if it's functional, then it will be considered a waste. And this guideline that we've been working on at Basel, that was the fundament, that was the basic principle. So it sounds good. Unfortunately, in the last weeks, days, months, some exemptions have been inserted into the text so that, yeah, it'll be a waste except. And these exemptions are very broad and very poorly defined. And the scary thing is once you say something is a non-waste, not only is the Basel ban completely out the window, but the Basel Convention itself, the prior informed consent regime, will not apply. You will have no legal recourse. You will have no transparency about what's moving. And what these exemptions are all about, believe it or not, is when something is claimed to be going for repair, then we will not consider it a waste. And the industry, ITIC and Digital Europe, have been lobbying very hard to push these exemptions, because they still want to use developing countries as dumping grounds. Low-wage countries are a place to externalize your costs. Not only do you have lower wages, but you have less resources to apply for the safety nets, the infrastructure to protect their population and their environment. This has been the game from the beginning. How can we externalize our costs? And that's always been the game. So I'm really concerned that everything we celebrated in Cartagena will be undermined by these 4 proposed exemptions, which are so poorly worded that I maintain that a majority of the e-waste stream will find its way through those 4 exemptions. So we are actually opening the door not only to not prohibiting its import into developing countries, but not allowing developing countries to even know what's coming into their territory through a prior informed consent regime. You will have no controls. No transparency, no ability to consent or not to consent. You will not ever get a notification. You will not know what's coming in. And anything that is a post-consumer piece of equipment can be called repairable. It's easy to make that claim. I say it's repairable. I say we're going to send it for root cause analysis. I say it's off-lease equipment that's very repairable. That's all very easy to do when you have no enforcement mechanism. And once you're outside of Basel, there is no enforcement mechanism, because the countries have only implemented Basel. They don't have laws to deal with these new exemptions. So it's a very dangerous situation we find ourselves in, and it fits right into the theme of, are the conventions losing control? I fear that Basel is on the cusp of losing all that we have fought for 24 years through this very trafficked and very unsustainable waste stream that is going to haunt Africa, Latin American countries for a long time. Realize that repair of electronics almost always involves swapping out a part and discarding it. And you do that many, many times. It's a massive transboundary movement of hazardous waste. We're talking about mercury lamps, we're talking about CRTs, we're talking about circuit boards that will be swapped out, all in the name of repair. So the message is, if you're a delegate, you're going to be at the Basel Convention, work with us to block these exemptions. If this guideline, and I have to say this is very odd, to change the definitions of the convention through a guideline. If this guideline goes through, we're in trouble. So we may need to block its adoption. if we cannot make these exemptions far less dangerous than they are right now. I just want to say that both for Stockholm and for Basel, these were conventions created some time ago. And at that time, they set certain rules. And they made a commitment to achieve certain obligations. Does it make any sense now, when the total global environment is getting so much worse, and our children and grandchildren are threatened more than ever before, that we look at those agreements, we go, they weren't really so wise. We're going to exempt things. We're going to derogate from things. We're going to go ahead and recycle pops and put them into plastics. Why are we going backwards? This is a time we should be leaping forward. Do not slip backwards, people. Thank you.
I also want to say Basel Action Network has produced a brief we have available up here as well. So all these documents can be made available online or in hard copy. I'd like to thank